Hello, hello. Welcome to a new episode of my podcast, the Entrepreneur and Leadership Live podcast. And today we have a big topic, what is called doing your job versus being successful. And normally in this podcast, I'm talking to global leaders, expert entrepreneurs about success keys, hacks, tricks to build and grow your business. And to do it today, I'm so proud, really proud to have Steff on the show. And Steff is a certified business coach and a licensed professional counselor. For the last two or even over 2 decades, Steve coached professionally, focusing primarily on senior leader effectiveness. And he holds a doctorate in workplace leadership ethics, as well master degree in both counseling and in biblical studies. And he's focusing on some of the critical gaps which Steve has repeatedly encountered. He has developed several highly effective online workshops he will probably talk about in more detail today as well for training specific coaching skills. He's successfully providing his clients with the results. That's the most important thing, results, as you can see by a few legacy relationships, which are ongoing for a duration of over 20 years. I think that's very, very impressive. And he's creating alignment around organizational core values, improving corporate culture, effectively managing growth, and developing leadership capabilities within companies. Last but not least, Steve helps executives and senior leaders really build high performing teams. And that's his motto and vision without spending hours in team meetings. And I love to welcome Steve here now live. Hello, Steve.
Good morning. How are you? Good day. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so proud having you here on the show. Did I summarize your bio correctly? Do you probably want to
Well,
add
you you,
something?
you did, and that's a lot to live up to now. So yeah, you did. Thank you.
Yeah, and today's topic is, I think it's an interesting topic, doing your job versus, sorry for the German pronunciation, versus the being successful. There are lots of question marks in my head already. What do you mean by that?
Well, our research on this, Michael, has indicated that the average job description will have about 13 different items, responsibilities for any particular job, but only on the average job description, at the most three of those have a metric by which performance is measured. And then our research goes on to show that almost 80% of terminations are for job failures that are not covered in those three metrics. So it's not unusual at all that we'll have someone in the workplace that feels like they're doing a good job. They feel like they're doing their job and checking the boxes every day. And they either end up getting a bad review, or they end up in their boss's or supervisor's office for a meeting, or they end up getting terminated because they failed in their job, where all that time they thought they were being successful.
Yeah, but that means it's a lack of feedback cycles, I guess. In a C executive, it's
Yes,
more tough, definitely, because
yeah,
you have your supervisory board meetings every, I don't know, 3 months or monthly. I even don't know, and that's they're more difficult for C executives, I guess.
absolutely. Well, manager tools tells us that 85% of the time we don't receive feedback until somebody's in trouble already. So that means on that day to day, moment to moment basis, you could be you're working all the time and failing, and nobody says anything about it until the situation becomes critical.
Uh,
So
and
we tend not to lead or manage for A performance. We manage for C performance, and then when we get unhappy with C performance, we go to do something about it, but it's too late at that point.
yeah, the point of no return means you have really,
Right, right,
you need metrics, as you
exactly.
mentioned, which are helpful and indicating quite quickly, very adaptive, where the problem zone is, where you have to improve, that this learn improve cycle could start.
Right, right. The vast majority of people that we work with they want to be successful in their job. We work with anything from middle managers to executive team. Most of the time, I'm working with executive team, but a couple of the coaches that work with me are working with middle managers and senior managers. And there are areas of their job where they don't have a clear metric for what success is.
Yeah.
So we're being measured all the time, in our performance. We are being gauged in our performance all the time. We just don't always know how we're being measured or gauged. So we are working with senior leaders to help them clearly identify a metric for every area in which their direct reports are being measured or gauged or evaluated. And that way, that direct report always knows where they stand. They will never have to come into a meeting and be surprised by the subject of the meeting because they always know how they are being measured.
Yeah.
And that's unique. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And could you give an example of those metrics? Because I'm using OKRs for myself and as well for my clients. And OKRs, just putting an objective is challenging. Then you need a key results, which is measurable. At least that you know that you're getting closer to your big objective. But on a C-level executive, what kind of metrics do you have in mind there? What could help?
Well, one of the lines that is always on a job description is to be a strong leader. Lead your people, encourager, things like that. And then how do you tell whether somebody is or not? So then you get called into a meeting at some point, and they want to talk about your leadership skills, and they tell you, well, you're not leading your people. You're not doing a good job at leadership. Well, what about engagement scores? So if they did engagement surveys, and you are responsible for maintaining a 90% or plus on engagement surveys, or 80%, you pick the number, then the engagement survey is what identifies whether the person is leading adequately or not some arbitrary measure by the executive or by the senior vice president. So, what our hope, Michael, is to eliminate arbitrary measures. Um, and as far as leadership or soft skills are concerned, it's difficult to identify those metrics, but they're there. And what we have found critical in identifying the metric is when you look at a job description and you tell someone a line there of something you're holding them responsible for, always ask the question, what are you really trying to accomplish? Too often, the job description is telling them what they want them to do, not what they want them to accomplish. So when we can finally identify what we're trying to accomplish, then we can find a measure of whether they're doing that or not. Does that help? Does that make sense?
It makes absolutely sense because um, I'm coming from the client perspective. Means the client is not interested in the product in itself. He's interested in the result he's hoping to get
Right.
out of using this product. The same is as a leader. The result is the company should work. You should have more profits, whatever. That's kind of measurable things. In these quality issues, engagement. I think as a leader, you lead, you coach
Right.
people, and there should be happy in asterisks, not happy because it's only fun, because happy because you're achieving something together, and those
Right.
results has to be smart. There must be measurable at least, and there must be the time set to measure those results you want to achieve, and
Right.
that makes absolutely sense what you said there.
Right. So on a lower level, move down the org chart a little bit, and let's say that you have a business that has location managers. You look at the job description for these location managers. and they're responsible for conducting safety meetings on a weekly basis. They're responsible for doing walk-arounds in the business or in the yard, the plant, whatever it is, for safety's sake. And on the job description, which sometimes job descriptions will run 2 or even 3 pages. On the job description, it may have 4 or 5 things there relative to safety. And what we've identified is they're using a job description to tell the person how to do the job, where all they're really trying to accomplish with all those 4 or 5 safety related items is to have 0 reportable incidents.
Yeah.
That's success, is 0 reportable incidents. So when I ask the manager, why are they doing these safety meetings? Well, it's so that this. Well, why are they doing these walk arounds? Well, so that. So then I'll ask the question, well, if they have 0 reportable incidents, do you care whether they do the meetings or not? Well,
Exactly.
right. And a lot of times their answer will be yes, because that's the way it's done, Well, then you're just, then you're just building robots. Then you're just telling them how to do the job. If the guy can do it and have 0 recordable incidents, do you care? And eventually the answer is no. Well, then the success is 0 recordable incidents. It's not doing these various meetings and things. That might help.
Steve, I agree completely with. Looking back, most of the job description they're nonsense because they're only saying how. And there's a good saying from Steve Jobs: "I don't employ smart people to tell them what they and how they're doing things. They have to achieve a result we want to do together." And and most of the job description they're dreadful, really dreadful. There's no really achievable goal, objective. There's only you have to work 40 hours a week. And in most smart jobs, you can't be creative for 40 hours. You're probably only 2 hours creative in the week, and you do the full job in 2 hours.
Right. Yeah, I worked with working with a COO right now, and some of his people, a chief operations officer, and his VP of operations. One of the items on his job description was, let me think, provide excellence in service with timely delivery of goods and best end market lead times. Well, that's fine, but the VP of operations, I'm sorry, the director of operations may think he's doing that, but he doesn't know how he's being measured.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for doing these Six Sigma meetings. He's responsible for doing these Kaizen meetings. And so finally we identified maintain 98% on-time shipment rate.
Yeah.
And the question again is, if you maintain 98% on-time shipment rate with cost of poor quality metric of 3% of sales or less, do you care whether he does Six Sigma? Well, now, to be clear, I'm all for Six Sigma. Don't misunderstand. That's fine. But that's not really the job of Six Sigma. His job is keep cost of poor quality, COPQ, keep that 3% or less, and maintain a 98% shipment rate. And that had never been identified for this director of operations. So he's doing all these things in order to be successful.
But it's not
But
really
if he
clear
misses
to him.
this,
Yeah.
right, if he misses this number that had not yet been identified, then he's going to lose his job.
Yeah.
And so it's upside down. It's managing behaviors instead of managing output. I want you to manage output. What are you trying to accomplish?
Actually, I think the way you have to be, you have to be result orientated, and if you have an objective, you should be able to influence the outcome. If you have no influence on the outcome, then those objectives they are as well useless because you don't identify it with them. Yeah, they have no buy-in, and there's so important points you have there. There are applicable really worldwide. Most of the companies have the same issue, the same problem. and
right,
they're using old management tools. They're still trying to mimic a
right,
machine with a company instead of having flexible, adaptive, cross-functional organization. Call it agile organization, and it's very complex, the whole issue.
but yeah, yeah. One
Yeah.
of one of the other things that we identified, Michael, was that there will be lines on job descriptions for which the individual does not have complete control.
Exactly.
We have a director of innovation that was charged with developing new products that result in $500,000 annual sales. Well, he could develop, he could develop anything, but if the salespeople don't sell it, then he's not going to have that $500,000. So he doesn't have control over the $500,000 in sales. He only has control over the developed new product. So they have to find a different measure for that uh, director of innovation, because the measure that they're using is tied to sales. It's not tied to innovation.
Yes, and I think you have a complex thing, especially innovation. You have to do a right thing, what people are interested in your target customers. You have it in a good quality, in the right quality, and at the right time, the time to
Right,
market. And that's probably the thing you are responsible as a director of innovation. Means you need probably to be measured as well a bit on the return on innovation, and only painting a blue fridge red is not really big innovation, and there where most companies are so disappointed because they don't see a high return on innovation, because they don't do innovation, they're doing just incremental improvements, if you like.
right, right. Right, exactly, exactly. So we've had a lot of fun with this, and we have had a couple of our legacy companies comment that this is probably the the greatest high performance opportunity that they have ever identified, because now they have managers and leaders that are not working for to make sure their people are working hard and doing all these things. They have managers and leaders that are focused on outcomes as opposed to process. And that's what real leadership is about anyway. It's not about process, it's about outcome.
The client, it doesn't matter, internal or external client, he doesn't care about how the process with the company looks
Right,
like. He just wants to get the result. He's not even
right,
interested in the product. If you buy a driller, I like this example. If you buy a driller, you're not really interested in the driller. You want a hole in the wall, in the wood, in the timber, wherever. And you don't care
right,
if the result is done by laser, by explosive, or a driller.
right.
Yeah?
That's exactly right. And yeah, and too often we just haven't taken the time to, it's easier to identify, these would all be leading indicators, by the way. It's easier to identify the leading indicators than it is sometimes to identify exactly what outcome you're looking for.
Exactly. And that's, Steve, I think what makes the job to be done has to be really the job which is getting you closer to the result you want to achieve. Yeah?
Right,
That's
right,
defining the
right,
job to be done.
right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we, like I said, we've had a lot of fun with this. This is working on it. We've got, by the way, I mentioned to you earlier, previous meeting, we have some training on this coming out for coaches that will be out probably within the next 30 days. It'll be live. So there'll be online uh, training available for coaches for building success profiles, because it's a it's a difficult process because it's so unused in the workplace. So stay tuned for that. That'll be about.
Yeah, and probably the people who are just listening to today's or watching to today's podcast, they have anyway a chance to go to your webpage. Your webpage probably just gives that information on the voice track, and I will put it anyway then afterwards under
Good. Thank
the
you.
video.
Thank you. Thank you. I think they'll find that a great value, because that has been that is the one coaching program that we've used that I will say for the last 5 years, I have clients asking us, can we do this? Because they've heard about it from some of our other clients. So we have a small organization here, and interestingly enough, most of our clients know each other. So we've had the opportunity to grow this program organically from one client telling another client about it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And if you describe the approach of your company a little bit in some words, how would you do that? You're doing then on a consulting basis. You're just doing workshop with them. How do you help your clients?
Yeah, we do some workshops, but I'm an adamant believer. One of our proverbs is that workshops and classes do not change behavior. So behavior happens over time, and it happens with identifying an effective skill and doing it over and over and over and over until it becomes natural to you. So while we will do workshops, I've got one coming up next week on the success profiles. Most of our work is the coaching
Yeah.
with senior leaders, and then for a couple of our companies, we serve with their executive team. We serve as an advisor to their executive team on strategic effectiveness planning. We don't pretend, I don't certainly don't pretend, Michael, to be an expert in the business
No.
that
Yeah.
my clients are in. But I believe we are experts in effectiveness and personal effectiveness, that is, individual effectiveness, and helping companies identify, do I have the right team to accomplish what we are hoping to accomplish? And if not, can I improve my team by improving some of their skills or behaviors?
Mhm.
Should I add to my team, or unfortunately, should I replace someone on my team? But we are all about individual and team effectiveness.
Yeah. And if because I'm quite young. It means I'm nearly 60. Yeah, means we are both looking back
Oh,
on a very long experience.
yeah,
We had been ourselves on a C-level executive position at one point in time, and we all know exactly what we're
yeah,
talking about. Uh, I don't know every business other running, but we both need the roadmap to get more
right,
successful. And
right, right.
and if I understood you correctly, you have most these three things. You can do the explanatory videos or
Right.
information you have. You do it with a client as a coach. You're helping, you leading
Yes.
him, you take him by the hand, but you don't do it for them. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. We do not do it for them because for the pure consultant role where you do
Mm.
it for them. The problem with that, from my perspective, from what I hope to accomplish, is when we leave, they don't know how to do it. They have not built the skill to do it. So we may have solved an immediate problem, but we haven't improved the organization. And my job, my role, my quest in life is to help individuals become more effective.
Mhm.
And as the individual becomes more effective, then the organization is more effective.
Exactly, because business is about relations, about people. It's not about things, not
That's
about
it.
processes.
No,
And every person in a company has to work effectively because efficiency is not always the thing. Because if you're doing something efficiently wrong, you have the wrong
that's-
effect. I mean,
it- exactly. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
We too often are focused on efficiency instead of effectiveness. And so if you're putting out a fire, Michael, you need to be efficient. You need to get it done right now. If you're building a long-term mission, then you need to be as effective as you can possibly be.
yeah,
And that requires skill building to be
exactly.
effective.
You have to do the right thing right on the right time.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
same is internally. You have to optimize the value stream you're creating in with regard to the result. Yeah,
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
client, internal or external client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we do. We've been doing it this way for about 20 years or so. And as you mentioned earlier, we've had great success. We're blessed with long-term relationships. An interesting thing on our client base right now is every client that we have, with the exception of one, and again, we're a small organization, but every client that we have, with the exception of one, has been with us for 10 years or longer,
Wow.
or their CEO is from one of the companies that has been with us 10 years or longer.
Wow.
So an
That's
individual has left the legacy company, they've gone to be CEO of a new company, and they've hired us to work with them there. So we're very blessed in our client base.
no.
We've got long, deep
Congratulations, Steve.
relationships there.
That's, I think, the best testimonial you can have. Yeah, if a client is lasting or is with you over that
Yes.
time stretch, especially in the
Thank you. That's
online
what we
business.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our belief, and we're very blessed with that. We're proud of that, and it's very comfortable because I may be talking with new people within the company, within an organization. I've got a new client from Ohio, but the CEO I've known for years, and I've worked with him at previous companies.
Yeah.
So that always helps because you're coming in with some amount of credibility, and they're the new client, the new executive, or the new senior leader is hearing their CEO say, if you work with this team, you will be more effective.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot on our ability to succeed.
With regard to your clients, are they globally or you're more focused in Northern America or?
We Most of our focus obviously is North America, although I do have two clients that are global. So we have coaching clients in Chile, Mexico, and
Mhm.
Poland,
Hmm.
Canada. Let me think. I think that's about it right now. Poland, Chile, and Mexico. So yeah, so that's a lot of fun. Uh, I am English speaking only, and the three fellows that work with me as coaches, we're all English speaking. But for all of our clients, even in Chile and Mexico, uh, that's the way it's been working there. We've had great success.
Yeah, I think English is anyway the sorry for
Sure,
that,
yeah.
the smallest common
It,
denominator. I
it,
mean, the language
it's the language of
is
yeah,
suffering
yeah,
dramatically because Germans trying to speak English
yeah,
like me,
yeah,
but we can talk. Yeah, that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
basic.
It's the language of business these days. So, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. In
yeah.
terms of, and just I'm bringing in your LinkedIn profile. Let's see if I can manage that. People can find you on
Thank you.
LinkedIn, on Twitter. Yeah, there, Steve, there you're quite active, I would say, huh?
We stay pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter. We're actually in the process this week, as we speak, of boosting our activity on LinkedIn because of the new coach training workshop that we're coming up with. But I think our profiles on LinkedIn and Twitter are pretty up to date, and we do stay pretty active there. Thanks for popping that up. Thank you.
I can pop it once again, and you talk a little bit about, do you do online coaching as well? Means because you have clients in Mexico and Poland, I guess you don't travel all the time, especially with the pandemic. You do it online, I guess.
That's interesting because up until 2 years ago, I traveled personally probably 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Now I travel about once a month, and 95% of our coaching is on Zoom or on Teams.
Yeah.
Um, and Michael, I won't. No one is going to tell you that that's just as effective as sitting in an office, but it's a real good second. So the vast majority of our coaching is by Zoom. Zoom has become the meeting platform of the world over the last year and a half or so. Um, the workshop that we're rolling out is going to be all virtual, of course. I believe there are two or three live coaching packages. By live, I mean Zoom coaching opportunities packaged in with it, but it's an automated workshop. So that's just become the communication method of today, and all of our coaching, whether it's Chile. I've been coaching an individual in Chile now for 5 years. I've never been to Chile. I have met him here in the United States. Here's one interesting very quickly. My client in Mexico, we meet up face to face about once every 6 weeks or we used to pre-pandemic. We would meet face to face in an airport somewhere because he traveled all the time, I traveled all the time. So we would just communicate and find out where we're going to cross paths. And then we would meet in that airport and have dinner together and have some coaching time. And that was a lot of fun. Well, I don't know whether we did that for effectiveness or for fun, but we enjoyed doing that for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. With the pandemic, just to finish that on that note, the technique helps, but in physical meeting, you get much more information because people
It's always
having
better.
body
Yeah.
body language, the whole posture, gesture, and it's something that's missing on a, especially in a one-to-one meeting on Zoom. It's possible you have still more visual, and you see more how people are smiling, or they're bored, or whatever. But
Right.
in a big Zoom meeting, you don't know. Means you need other
Right.
techniques to involve and engage them.
Yeah. The large Zoom meetings, Michael, are effective for delivering information,
Yeah.
to just deliver information. But if you're trying to accomplish anything relationally, they're just very ineffective.
Yeah.
So as a counselor and psychologist, I'm very very aware of the amount of communication through body language. As you sit there and watch me, you see my arms going all the time. Um, that just doesn't work as well in a Zoom meeting as it does live. So live is always going to be better, but then you still have to make sure that whoever you're live with, they are a receptive vessel, and the coach that you're working with is an effective coach. So I've become more learned to be more effective over Zoom in the last couple of years than I was before, out of necessity. So we're working on it. We're also, I will tell you, one of the things that we've done is we have significantly increased the amount of what I'll call homework that we require of our coaching clients. Since we're not doing in person meetings within an office space, we're requiring more homework so that we're sure the client is fully engaged in the work that we're doing.
You give them an assignment to do. That's exactly the
Exactly.
same what I'm doing as well, because that way you get them more and more engaged.
Right,
Otherwise,
right,
it's and probably for most people out there, coaching has nothing to do with the consummation of information.
right,
It's
right.
it's the person who gets coached, the coachee has to work, and the
That's right.
coach
They
is
have to
only
work. That's
helping
right.
them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My job is to help them identify more effective behaviors, and then my job is to help them integrate those behaviors in their day-to-day work. And if they can have even people, we use a lot of stakeholder based coaching so that they have stakeholders within their organization that are holding them accountable for that new behavior, and it's very very effective.
Yeah. Probably the time is really flying and is passing by swiftly, and we are 30 minutes already, or 34 minutes. And just for you to finishing this podcast, what would be your three best advices you can give startups, the founders of startups, what they should really focus on to just not mingle up the job to be done with the success factors?
Uh,
And yeah, what's the best three hacks you can give them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think that to go back to our being successful thing, startups invariably have identified a particular uh, something they're trying to accomplish, and because they are subject matter experts, it is so easy for those startup people to identify how they want things done. So my advice to them again is don't worry so much about how you want it done. Focus like a laser on what are you trying to accomplish in every area of the organization or in every area of the job, even right down to core values. What are you trying to accomplish? And then how will you know that that's being done? Or how will you know when that is accomplished? When you've got that identified, then you're able to plug in the people that will accomplish that. And the second piece that I would give you is hold those people accountable on a for every one of those success factors, hold them accountable on a day-to-day basis. And we tend to, let's go back to that job description, Michael. We tend to focus on those top two or three and let those others kind of languish. And I would tell you, you're setting yourself up for failure in doing that. Focus on every one of those success factors on a day to day basis. Now you're building a high performance organization.
That's wonderful, Steve. Thank you very much. It was really fun talking to you about
I've
this
enjoyed it. Yes,
very
it's been a
important
blast.
topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, I switched off the recording. How did you feel?
Good.
How did you feel, Steve?
I thought it was good. I hope you were pleased.
No, I'm very pleased. I love it. Wasn't flow and talk. It's we stick a little bit to the questions, but we flow around that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a great interviewer. A great podcast. I was pleased, so I hope you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. And it
Good.
was live now. It was live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube and Facebook. I will send you the links anyway that you
Thank you.
can find them again because in this online jungle, if you don't have the
Yeah,
links,
yeah,
you're wasting too
yeah,
much time for finding them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it definitely was fun talking to you, Steve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. Good. So send me those links. I'll look forward to that. And if you want to do it again, I'm always open. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Okay.
Good.
Bye. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye
Have
bye.
a great day. Wow. Hmm?